Hey everyone, so you're getting ready for your icse English exam, and you know your stuff. But here's the thing, having the right answers is really only half the battle. Today we're diving deep into that other half, your paper presentation. We're going to show you exactly how to turn your answer sheet into a high-scoring masterpiece that grabs the examiner's attention for all the right reasons. Let's get into it.
It's a super frustrating question, right? You've studied for months, you know the content backwards and forwards, and yet, you still end up losing a few marks here and there. So what's the deal? Well, a lot of the time it comes down to something really simple. Presentation. Think about it. A messy, hard-to-read paper just makes the examiner's job more difficult, and that can, even subconsciously, affect your score. How you write is just as important as what you write.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about why presentation is your secret weapon. Then, we'll get your exam day toolkit sorted. After that, we'll map out the smartest order to tackle the questions. We'll also master some key formats, like that tricky Pressey's grid, figure out how to handle mistakes without a fuss, and wrap it all up with a final checklist.
All right, let's dive into our first section. We're calling this Presentation, Your Secret Weapon, and we're about to see exactly why how your paper looks is so incredibly important. This right here is the absolute truth when it comes to board exams, especially for a subject like English where clarity is everything. A disorganized paper can actually cost you marks, even if the content itself is spot on. So remember, being neat isn't just about being tidy, it's a strategy.
So now that we know why it all matters, let's talk about how to pull it off. You can't have a great presentation without the right tools. It's a really simple list, but trust me, every single item on it has a specific job.
Okay, for your toolkit, you're going to want 2 or 3 good blue ballpoint pens. Always have a backup. Then, a black pen to make your headings and question numbers really pop. Of course, a sharpened pencil for any rough work, and a ruler or scale to keep those lines perfectly straight. Now, you might be asking, why a ballpoint pen? Why not a gel pen? Well, in an exam, you're basically in a race against the clock. Ballpoint pens are fast, they're smooth, and they almost never smudge. Gel pens, on the other hand, they can get a little sticky, stop working, or worse, smudge all over your hard work. It's a risk you really don't need to take.
All right, you've got your tools ready to go. Now for the strategy. How do you actually attack the paper? Believe it or not, the order you answer the questions in can make a huge difference to your final score and how you manage your time.
So, here is a tried and tested order for success. First up, start with grammar. This is a massive psychological win. It's quick, you can score well, and it just builds up your confidence right from the get-go. Plus, it makes a great first impression. Next, knock out the easy stuff, the notice and email. Then move on to the letter, and after that, the unseen passage. And finally, save a big, solid 45-minute block at the very end for your composition, because that's what needs the most brainpower. Now, listen up, because this might be the most critical piece of advice today. No matter what happens, you have to protect those final 15 minutes of the exam. This isn't just extra time if you finish early, it's a non-negotiable part of your plan for catching all those little silly mistakes. And the reward for that discipline, it's huge. A proper 15-minute recheck can literally save you up to 10 marks. Just think about that for a second. 10 marks! Just by finding simple spelling errors, grammar slip-ups, or wrong question numbers. That is an amazing return on your investment of time.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of execution. How do you actually format your answers on the page so they look clean, professional, and are just super easy for the examiner to read?
Think of these as your universal rules for the entire paper. Always use that black pen for your question numbers so they stand out. Underline your headings. Super important. Leave one blank line between your paragraphs. It makes everything so much more readable. And when you're totally done with a question, draw one neat line with your pencil to show you're moving on.
When it comes to the essay, here's a solid target to aim for, about 2.5 pages. That length usually works out to be around 350 words, which you can break down nicely into 6 or 7 clear, well-structured paragraphs. It gives you plenty of room to really develop your ideas. And here's a little pro tip for your letter writing that makes a surprisingly big difference. Whenever you can, try to start your letter on a fresh, new page on the left-hand side. Why? Because it lets the examiners see the entire format of your letter in one single view, which just looks incredibly organized. Okay, let's talk about the précis. The absolute key to nailing this is the grid, and it has to be exactly 5 columns by 10 rows. This isn't just a suggestion. This structure forces you to stay within that strict 50-word limit. A really common mistake is drawing a 60-word grid, so please remember, it has to be 5 by 10. So here's the safest way to do it, step by step. First, draw that 5 by 10 grid in pencil. Second, write your rough draft inside the boxes. Again, lightly in pencil so you can erase and make changes. Third, once you're happy with it, go over the pencil with your pen. And finally, you write out the final version as a clean paragraph just below the grid, and you label it Final Draft. Easy.
Now, let's be real for a second. You're probably going to make a mistake somewhere. It's totally normal, but it's how you handle that mistake that really matters for your presentation.
Just take a look at the difference here. The wrong way is to scribble all over the word. It's messy, it's distracting, and it basically puts a giant spotlight on your error. The right way? It's just a single, neat line right through the word. It's clean, it's professional, and it doesn't break the visual flow of the page at all.
And I think this quote just sums it up perfectly. You really don't want to be screaming about your mistakes. A simple, single line just acknowledges it, corrects it, and lets the examiner focus on all the great stuff you've written.
All right, we are in the home stretch now. You've finished writing and you've got those precious 15 minutes on the clock. It is time for the final checkup.
Okay, take a deep breath and just quickly run through this list. Are your question numbers 100% correct? For multiple choice questions, did you write the letter of the option like C before the actual answer? Are your paragraphs clearly separated with that blank line? Are all your headings underlined? And finally, did you correct any mistakes neatly? This is your last line of defense. So when you finally hand that paper in, ask yourself this one question. By following all of these steps, you're not just giving them a bunch of answers. You're presenting a clear, confident, and really well-organized paper that is absolutely designed to earn you every single mark you deserve.
We really hope this guide helps you get every last mark you're aiming for. For more explainers just like this one to help you ace your exams, make sure you subscribe to Study Slide. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.